I'm going to stop presenting and I'm going to hand over to the wonderful Phil Bainbridge from the University of York, who's going to walk through some of the wonderful tools that he has using for Google Apps. And just to let you know, the next updates will be Tuesday, the 5th of March.
Thanks very much, James. Hi, everyone. I'll share my screen in a moment. For those of you who haven't met me then, I'm Phil Bainbridge. I work at the University of York. I've been there about 9 years now, but I've actually only been doing some of the app scripting side of stuff for the last kind of 3-4 years. So let me present my screen and then we can get started. Okay, on the slides there then, I've got, I'm wearing 2 hats basically here. On the one side, I'm wearing my University of York hat, and I am part of the Digital Inclusion Skills and Creativity team. Otherwise, our acronym is DISC. So we provide staff digital skills and training across the entire university. We work with continuous service improvements as well, which is what's going to come in next in terms of the app script. So we look at paper-based solutions, anything that's slow, and what we can look at automating using Google. My second hat is an extension of what I do at the university. Things I build and what I learn, I actually put on my personal blog, which is available to anybody in the world. So the tools that I develop, as you'll see in a moment, are basically detailed on here. What the tool does, a YouTube video on how to use it, how you download it, and just lots of comments and code so people can basically reverse engineer it. Because at the end of the day, I learned through other people's blogs and websites. So it's just returning the favor to that kind of community that we have for Google and coding. So as we go through, if anybody's got any questions, please feel free to raise your hand. I'm going to go ultimate here, and I'm going to attempt to do 15 live demos about 60 seconds each, and nothing will go wrong at all because this is part of my job. I'm professional. The other thing I wanted to mention, which is in the slides, is there's myself and a colleague in the team, Siobhan Dunlop. We used to do a 2 hours a week for 5 weeks training for staff on Google Apps Script. So Google Apps Script is the coding language behind all things Google. So you can connect forms, Drive, Sheets, etc. And it's a flavor of JavaScript. What we've done, because of kind of staff workloads and the difficulty getting people together, is we've actually created an entirely online self-study guide. And this is available publicly to the world, basically. So the link is in the slide deck at the bottom there, and it goes through our courses, basically from what is AppScript and coding, to actually building some little projects together. And we've YouTube videoed the whole kind of our sessions that we would have done in person to kind of talk you through and let you follow it along. So it's there and available for everybody and anybody to use. Right, without further ado, then let's go for it. So these are tools I've developed to either help with some automation, help save some time, or just because I've been really curious and had some development time and wanted to explore some stuff. So number one, changing the cell color on a Google Sheet when somebody edits it. So all this is dummy data. There's nothing obviously live or sensitive here. But we've got some students. They belong to a particularly made up college, and somebody comes along and wants to change the name of the college that they belong to. So they want to ultimately make an edit in the sheet. Now, after they've made the edit in the sheet, there is something called an onEdit trigger that is running in the background and detects a change and simply applies a color to it. It's really nice and easy, something like that. So we change another one here. Somebody's still growing and their shoe size has increased from a 7 to a 9. So somebody types along and goes through there. So this just changes color on any edit in the sheet. But you can narrow it down and you can say, well, what if somebody edits a particular column only? I only want to identify something like that. Again, it's a very trivial one, but it's one of the first ones we teach in the AppScript course, and it's really quite nice and easy to see. And you can achieve it in about 6 lines of code, nice and easy. Right. Yes. Raise hand, Chris.
Yeah, can I just ask a quick question on that? As a non-technical person, I always start with that. You can see there where somebody's saying, say you shared that sheet with 5 different people, let's just say. Is it possible to have a different color for each one of those 5 people, or is it just an update that puts one colored field in?
Out of the box right now, it will just it's just an update that puts the colors in. It's literally that. Actually, it wasn't even 6 lines of code. It's 2 lines of code. But what you can do, because each of those individuals accessing the sheet will be logged in via a Google account, you could, in effect, actually say, look at their email address and give them a specific kind of random color to use, or a defined color. So if you said, there's always a team of 5 of us, we want our own specified color, then you could do that. So yes, there's ways of doing extra stuff, but out the box, this literally is anything edited is always going to be this yellowy gold color.
Excellent. I think, yeah, thanks, Phil. That's great. Thank you. Dave, okay. You've got your hand raised there, I think.
Yeah, really quick, because I know you're trying to do this against the clock, Phil. But is there a way of hitting reset on this essentially, so that you can say any edits after this point?
As in, like a timestamp sort of.
Yeah, or just a way of clearing existing edits. So if we wanted to view changes that have been made this week or this term.
Yeah, that's a good point. One of the biggest limitations of this is actually if you try to change a color of a cell back, you are technically editing the cell, so it will then change it back to what it is. Because again, there's no logic in this one. It's just very basic out the box. But in theory, you could just have you'll see in a moment, I've got a couple that have a menu button that you create up here. And you could have a menu button that just says clear sheet, as in clear any filled in cells, etc. You can get dates and times. So yes, you could literally say clear sheet in the last 7 days, for instance. You could possibly archive. I mean, there's an archive one I'll show you where you could output some of the information to another sheet and actually say, well, log the edits for me here and then wipe the sheet so I can always go back and see who does it. Yes, there's so much more. This was just the first really basic one to sort of show.
Brilliant, thank you.
Okay, right, next one. Bulk renaming files in Google Sheet. Here's my test. Let's open the sheet first. This looks a little bit rough and ready than kind of what it is. Some of these have been tidied up. Basically, I want the ID of a folder where I've got some files that I want to rename. My folder is here for test 1. So I literally got some old documents, and obviously we're 2024 now, not 2023. So everything in Google Drive, hopefully you know, has a unique ID to be able to define if it's a folder or file and where it is. So I basically paste that into here. I tell it the search pattern to look for. In this case, I want it to actually search for 2023. And I want to replace that with 2024. Again, a really trivial one. I hit the start button there. The script shows a little toast notification, as it's called. And what that is it lets me as the user know what's happening. Obviously, I've got a lot of files here. It's going to happen a little bit longer than 1.5 seconds. There you go. As easy as that. Now, scale this up. I've had this done on hundreds of files at once. People bulk downloading data from central systems where it comes out in really weird formats, underscores, etc. Yeah, it might sound easy just to right click and rename a couple, but do that on scale and you'll be pulling your hair out. Okay, number 3. Bulk creating Drive folders. Really, really, really popular one, this one. Particularly as a university or a school where you've got the start of term, for instance, a whole load of new students and you want to be able to create some folders for them. So again, I've got a test space here. This is where I want the new folders to be created. So all I've basically done is I've broken it down into 2 columns for the file names, but I've got an upgraded version where you can just use a concatenate function and in actual fact, create whatever kind of cool name that you want for, again, exported data you've got elsewhere. What I've also got this one doing is actually adding an email address as an editor to that particular file. So this could be the tutor, the teacher for this particular student. Here's an example if you can add more than one email address. There's my menu item I was mentioning earlier that I could build, and I've literally got it to call create folders. What this is doing now is it's going line by line, it's picking up the name, and it's creating a folder, and then it's going to add the email address to that particular folder and just literally put a timestamp in the spreadsheet for me. Takes a few seconds per folder, as you see, but it certainly does it a lot quicker than if you're going to try and do this manually. It's finished. I've told it to put a hyperlink into the spreadsheet so that the staff members have a sheet here, and I click on that. And so I'm in John Smith's folder now. Obviously, if I just jump back there, you can see the particular folders that have been created. And if I just refresh, because I'm going a bit fast, it's just catching up with sharing that one. Well, that's it, basically. I've created it. I've seen this used again on hundreds of folders, spreadsheets going down and down. And the way it works is you can append further rows to this one, and it won't duplicate any that have already been created. Right, that was that one. Number 4, bulk creating Google Docs from a sheet. Again, another popular one. So basically, I got a spreadsheet of data, and I want to transform this into a single Google Sheet file per row and put some of the data from the spreadsheet into it. It'll make much more sense when you're seeing it live. But here's my template document. So for every row, I want to copy this document and populate these special tags that I've created with the data from the Google Sheet, ultimately. So that's what I'm going to do. So again, I've just done first name, last name. There's an email address there and the tutor to kind of share it with. So I've got my admin menu. I jump to the second one. I split this into 2 this time. So I create the documents first, and then I can choose to add the tutors at a later date whenever I want, rather than do it all at the same time. Again, it's going to start to put a link to the documents as we go through. So it's a few seconds per row. Let's click on Juno there. And there, you can see now there's a Google Doc with the data from the Google Sheet populated in it. If I jump to the test folder that I've got there, so they're all collated in one single space, all using data from the Google Sheet, as I say. The next step there would be to add the email addresses so that they can then access those particular items. So again, what it's going to do now is it's just going to get the tutor, get that folder, and add them to it. And again, it's just putting a date timestamp in there so they know when exactly it was done. So when the tutor gets back in touch next week and says, I didn't see the email, you can be like, you did see the email, I sent it on this date. As such, like that. So as I say, they'll basically get an email that looks like that. Hi, document has been created for you. Here's a link if you have any problems. Obviously, I would create, nowadays we use an accessible link, so it would be clickable text you can see and read. Okay, that was that one. 5. So then obviously I built that and someone said, what about creating sheets from a sheet? Because why not? So again, this is a dummy test to show you how you can translate sheets from a master sheet into particular boxes. So all I'm showing is you can target exactly which cell you want it to go into. So here's the Google Sheet again. I've just got 3 rows in here of data. I click my Create Sheets button, and it's going to go row by row and put each of those items into the specific cell that I just showed you on the other sheet there. Obviously, we have it much more structured, the other sheet that it creates. It's either creating like health and safety reports, attendance reports, so on and so forth. So there, it's just a demo. I could target any particular cell on anywhere in a file, basically. Okay. 6. Creating a Google Doc then from a form submission. This is a super duper popular one here. Here's the template document, first of all. So when somebody submits the form, it wants to create a copy of this file and populate it with data from the Google form. Again, you can format this exactly how you want. You can have tables, headers, everything like that. This is just a plain and simple demo. The document there, the Google form then looks like this. So somebody completes the Google form. You can have practically any question on the form that you wish. Mickey Mouse has big feet. So click submit. The user filling in the form has no idea what is going on here. There's no change to them. There's no delay or slowdown or anything in the form at all. As normal, you all have a response sheet for a Google form. And in the time it's taken me to talk there, it has now created a direct link to the document for that particular person containing the data from the form. And I had all of that saved in a particular folder, which is here. So again, submit the form, another document, submit, submit, submit. It's one way, so it doesn't work if you edit the form, unfortunately, because the document's kind of created. It's just to fill it in, and we use this to generate loads of things at the university for kind of loan applications, template letters and stuff as well. Okay, number 7. Send personalized emails from a Google Sheet. To be honest, I don't use this one very much now because I use Yam, and I love Yam because Yam is based on Google Apps Script. Anyway, it was coded on the same thing. But principally here, we've got a group feedback document that a tutor has created for students. So we've got the students listed here. Obviously, I've just made up some email addresses to stop spamming my own accounts. And what we want to do is we want to get this information into a nice email for the student just so they can get some feedback. Obviously, we don't want to do that manually, creating individual emails. So bang, 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 app script it, nice and easy. And what does the email look like? We ignore the personalization ones. There, it's formatted quite plain and simple in this instance, but here's your feedback for learning to knit. And there's the results and information that you've got there. Again, so it's just a personalized email. If it exists in the Google Sheet, you can send it in an email. Okay. 8. Google Sheet from a form. Okay, so this is a Google Sheet that's sort of built to look a little bit more like a form. And this one was for risk assessments, as you can see here. We've got a drop down at the top. This isn't app script. This is just a Google Sheets formula. But the member of staff selects the type of risk assessment, which puts an email address for the person responsible, the reviewer. And what I've got going on here that is app scripted is a tick box to indicate that the person has completed the information from the form before they want to have it automatically sent to the reviewer. Now, they're going to use the menu up here to send the email to the reviewer. They're going to be saying, are you sure you want to send it? Is everything done? And they're going to click yes. But in actual fact, they didn't tick the tick box. They didn't do the last check. So again, it's just to try and stop them from sending something that's incomplete. This time they tick the tick box, click send, and they select, yes, I've filled everything in. And basically what it's just going to do is it's going to wrap that Google Sheet up, add the reviewer as an editor to it, and send them an email to say it's been filled out. On other occasions, we've also had it remove the permission of the person who filled it in so that they can't go and tinker or edit with it, or change their permission so they just become a viewer. But it just means it's nice and simple. The user doesn't have to open up their emails, remember to attach the item, etc. It's just built into the template sheet that they all use. And when they make a copy of the sheet, they get a copy of the app script code at the same time. So there's nothing they need to do except click that menu button. Number 8, find and replace. I think just back to that one, I did have an example. Sorry, yeah. The risk assessment sheet then comes through something like that. It's been submitted. You must now review the details in section 5 and gives them a link to the actual file. So again, you can customize all of that and have it just close the circle basically for finishing communication off. Find and replace in a Google Sheet. This has sort of become less relevant because obviously you can do Control F and find and replace anyway. So this was more me learning something called find text, which was an app script method. Here's my made up data, very badly made up data. But what I've got is I've got this service here. And I've got things like X-rays, first, second. And what I'm kind of trying to get across here is you might have multiple people using a sheet. And you've got somebody types in X-ray all lowercase. Somebody comes in and types X-ray with like a capital X and a capital R. Someone comes in with a capital X and a lowercase r. And you kind of got all this different variations of it. So it's sort of like a way of data cleansing. So what I have here is I have a find list where I basically say, look for any instances of like X-ray, lowercase. Obviously, I've just added a few more in there, so I could say look at X-ray as well, and replace it with the version that I want. So the other one I did was that. So I'm cleansing my data all in one go. I'm saying if you find any instances of these on the left, switch them out to that one on the right, basically. So I run the find and replace, and it kind of goes through, highlights any changes that it's made, and makes those changes. Again, a really trivial one. I know Control F, find and replace can do it, but it's quite cool. I enjoyed learning that one, and it's really fast. Okay, number 10, nearly there. Bulk create calendar events with optional Meet and Zoom. This was a Christmas project for me. It took it ages, but it's amazing. I have seen individuals create over 230 events in one sitting. I tried to find out how the hell and why they were creating that many events, and they were just running a big project and a big like 2-week event that they wanted. So what it looks quite dominating at first, and this works better on scale, obviously. Doing it one by one, Google Calendar is still the best place to be creating events. But this bulk creates them. So what we've got here is your usual columns that you would find in Google Calendar. Got a nice little data picker here. We can use some drop downs to select what we want. I can double click my end date there. This one's going to go on for a couple of hours. And as we scroll across, we've got some really cool video conferencing options. Pick to add Google Meet to the actual calendar event for me, or pick and add Zoom for me. I'll do Meet in this one because I haven't got the Zoom set up as such. I can do my alternative hosts for Zoom if you're using it. I can then carry on adding more information. What if I've got guests I need to invite to that particular event? I just type their email addresses in. What if I've got a location I want to put? Maybe I just type online there, or I actually have an address of somewhere. And then you've got all the standard options you have in a calendar event. Do I want to send an email to the guests? Do I want to let them invite others? Can guests see each other? Can I even change the color of the event so it looks quite nice and pretty? So you scale that up and could have 50 in here, 100 in there, however many you want. And if I go back to the welcome sheet, there's just a button there, click Start Now. And basically, it's going to go through row by row and create me an event for these particular items. I can create it on any calendar I have event access, edit access to. And that's it, as quick as that. And a nice pop-up box this time to tell me that it's done it. If I go to my Google Calendar, there is my food shop at Monk's Cross. There's my description. And there's my test event with my Google Meet set up as well. As easy as that. Again, it's one way. So kind of the events are created. You can continue to append more. Basically, as it says, if something's written in these columns here, it will skip that row. But scale it up, scale it up, scale it up as you wish, basically. Okay, perfect. Nearly there. 11, search Drive for files owned. Now you can do this in Google Drive, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it in Google Drive. You can basically go find anything that's owned by me and search for it. The trouble I had was you get the infinite scroll, which is just a little bit tricky, that's all. So what I wanted was that list pulled out into a spreadsheet. Why not? That sounds quite cool. So this is mainly for somebody's leaving the department, leaving the university. They've got a lot of files that they own because they haven't used a shared drive. So we need to find out what they've got. I'm aware some of you will have access to things like GAM. It's not something I have access to or that end users have access to. So we can kind of put the onus on the individuals here. Basically, I click the menu item and I get it to start searching my entire Google Drive for everything that I own. Boom. What was that? 2 seconds? 191 files it's pulled together. What does it look like? That's the name of the file. That's just its ID because I could pull it out and might use it for GAM if I needed. There's a clickable link to each of the actual item. And again, I could tidy this up, but is it a spreadsheet? Is it a document? Is it a form? Is it app script? Is it PDF, etc.? In anticipation of someone's question, 43,000 is the most somebody at the university ran it against. I did it, didn't time out, it ran. It did take 20 minutes. Anyway, 12, search drive for full text contains. Now this is a bit of a weird one, a niche one. Basically, I had an individual who had a number of files, so let's say like this, that were all formatted the same. Exactly formatted in the same way, and they wanted to pull select data from those sheets into a single one. So again, this is very unique because the columns have to be in the right places depending on what you build. So you basically point at a folder, it finds the files. I won't demo this one because I haven't quite cleared it up, but it finds the files in the folder and just gives us a nice easy link, and basically then extracts the content. So there's 3 files, so 3 bits of text here. So it gives me a link to the file. it grabs the header row and it grabs a particular row of data that they wanted. They had 150 that they needed to be able to do this every month, basically. So inevitably they could just point it at a new folder and run it. Now the critical thing was the data is identical and doesn't change. As soon as it changes a column or something somewhere, obviously you've got to update your code and you get a bit of a mismatch. But that's roughly what that one was. Okay, only a couple left. Archive sheet data. Really, I was amazed at how popular this one was, because for me, I would just cut and paste a row into a different sheet. This one's just rocketed. So I've got a whole list of, again, dummy data here that I'm working with. It's live data. Loads of people like to move particular rows when they've been either completed or projects or people who have left or something like that onto an actual different sheet. In this instance, we're putting it under the banner of archiving data. So I can come along here and I can say, Josh, that particular row there doesn't need to exist here. I can click anywhere in the row. It really doesn't matter. But I can click my customize menu, archive it, bang, Josh is gone. Josh is there. That's it. It's amazing. It's amazingly popular. I've built a version that works with multiple rows. So you can use your control key on your keyboard and actually select multiple ones and move them all off. It's the I think it's the second thing you learn in the CapScript course that we teach, and it's just people love it. Okay, bulk change ownership of drives. Now, again, I'm aware people are using GAM, so this is less relevant for you if you're an administrator, but for an end user, it's quite useful. Here's my demo folder with a few files in that I am currently the owner of, and I want to bulk transfer them to somebody else in the same domain. That's critical, in the same domain, not outside of the domain. So here's a very rough and ready old version of the sheet. I don't know why I picked these colors when I built it a few years ago, but there we go. I point it at a folder. I specified, because I didn't want it to get mixed up with other items that were owned by other people in the folder. So I said, only if it's owned by me or this test account, will you change the name to the real Ned Flanders in this instance. So the person clicks the run button, and it loops through, puts a toast notification here, and it's going through and changing the ownership of each of those items to the other person. So just a couple of seconds. And there we go, we kind of get it done. I haven't got a pop-up for this one as such, but if I go back into here now, there we go. The real Ned Flanders now owns those items. As easy as that. And the last one, extracting text from a Google Doc. Again, this has to be very specific. Obviously, I've only got a sentence or two here, but we tend to find people have feedback sheets, attendance sheets that are identical because they have to fill it in a particular way, using a particular format. So this was, on scale when we did it, I think it was 97 documents it needed to pull data from. So what we basically have here is tell it the folder that contains all the documents that you want to loop through. And here's the sheet that we're going to use. And I basically go get paragraphs, and it's going to loop through each file and go bang, 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 bang. So these texts, obviously, they will change in each file. It might be student feedback that's been created, and you think, well, I want to collate all that feedback on a master sheet now that teachers have had a chance to fill it in. And again, there's just a nice quick link there back to the actual file it was, so you can go and proofread it, check it, see how it works. That's it. Done. Flawless. Yes. Right. I'm ready for any questions or anything, comments. I really appreciate. I've seen thumbs up go past, which has been really nice. Is there anything anybody wants to ask me about?
That was absolutely awesome, Phil.
Fantastic.
Really, really useful. And I'm sure I can see just by running through some of those, some of the application usage and the amount of time that people can save in schools and colleges and universities. Just doing mundane things, you'll very quickly be able to sort of like update documents, change things, and extract data. And it's just time saving, isn't it?
Yes, it's I've absolutely fallen in love with it. I got tutored when I first started the team. A gentleman called Mike, who's retired now. So I first joined our kind of the Google team. We're known as the Google Gurus. and I just loved it, absolutely loved it. So I got some development time to be able to kind of work once a week on building some stuff. And obviously that time I turned it back around. If you give me the time to do the development stuff, obviously I'm going to apply it to things I see when I help people and they struggle, or what people want or need. I never expected it. I started the blog in 2018 and I've been posting ever since, just learning right from the initial bits to everything I've shown you there is available on the blog to download in a Google Sheet and all practically get started out of the box. There's instructions where I've felt it needs a bit of instructions. There's videos to try and help out. But yeah, that's the hope, is just return it to the Google community, the AppScript community, and just share and share. That's what we're all about with Google.
I think it's great. Thanks very much, Phil. I think it was a really useful insight into, some of the speedy things. And I think every one of us on the way through that was saying, I could use that. I was thinking, well, there's a whole load of people who could benefit, not only, on the academic side, but teachers who really struggle, particularly with spreadsheets, because it's not a native sort of platform for them to use or a tool for them to use. But also, some of the back end staff in the admin areas who are receiving Google Forms, documents, or want to do quick replies and emails to people completing forms. There's a whole plethora of things. So I think that's a fantastic insight. It is one of those things that, like, I have a big long list of would like to do one day. I guess that needs adding on to it. Gamly's on there, but it actually looks as though AppScript might be more easier to use. I don't know whether anybody's got foot in both camps and will be able to give an opinion of that. But yeah, some great opportunities for any institution, school, workplace, wherever, to make some huge savings in routine, mundane tasks that we all hate doing. So brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
No, you're very welcome. That's nice to hear. Obviously, I've shown you quite a plethora of tools there. About 5 of those you'll be able to create out the box from yourself if you look at our essential AppScript course, because we teach you how to build one that submits and creates a Google Doc based on it. That's week 4 of the course, for instance. Archiving sheet data is actually really, really simple. Obviously, when you go up to the scale of creating calendar events with Zoom and Meet integrations, that's very, very heavy. So the thing we kind of try to suggest to people is have a look at like the Essential AppScript course and the tutorials that Google actually hosts as well on the developers expert site. Just don't jump in head first, and don't jump into dates head first. I might have been coding all this time and I hate working with dates in JavaScript and AppScript because they are very, very challenging. So people usually go straight into that, and it destroys it for them. They're just like, this is so complicated and don't ever do it again. It's not jumping in head first really with it. Yeah.
Excellent. I think
I have to say thank you, Phil,
Yeah, go
because it's great just to not only for you to share everything that you've created there, but also to demonstrate it. I think that really brings it to life, actually seeing you talk it through. Obviously, we'd seen the links previously that have been shared via Chris, and I probably glanced at them and went, oh, yeah, that's cool, I'll go back to that one day. But to actually watch you talk through it, it was tremendously powerful. So thank you for giving up even more of your time and the resources. It's very kind of you. Thank you.
Thank you. You're very welcome. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Phil. Yeah, from sort of a non-techie end user here, certainly the formatting for the sheets is great, and also that archive sheet data. I work in a lot of spreadsheets with various pieces of software and whatnot around renewals, cancellations, etc. And to have the ability just to move something to a sheet that is, renewed, cancelled, or whatever, or pending, with a click of a button would be a big time saver for me. So that's great to see.
Cool. Yeah, we've done it. I've done variations of it with tick boxes. So in actual fact, the first thing I showed you with the on edit. So when you edit something, it changes something. This one was designed so there was a column of tick boxes, and only if an item was ticked in that particular column would the row actually whip away immediately, rather than like saving 2 clicks kind of thing. But some people were just like, we would actually prefer things like that. So there's about 1 million variations of everything I've shown you here, which was really cool. But thank you.
Fantastic. I'll obviously share. Yeah, I'll share the links from today and whatnot with you. And obviously, Phil, you're okay if I include your email address in that when I send the
Yeah,
details out?
I popped it on the slide, but
Fantastic.
absolutely.
Yep. Then if anybody's got any questions at all, yep, Phil's the man.
Chris, you got a question? Can you pop those in the files on this space?
Sorry, was that aimed at me, Andy? Then sorry, I missed that.
Can you pop those in the files section on this Google Space? So you know, in the space where you got the chat and the tasks and the files, can you pop them in there?
Yeah, can do. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
save
no
like
problem.
getting an email. So if we need to refer to them, we come back to
Sure.
space and they're all there.
Yep, no worries.
They're also Phil's already put the link as well into the slide deck, Andy.
Yeah.
We can get them from there as well.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Okay, I'm going to stop recording now. That's absolutely fantastic, Phil, and thank you ever so much for sharing and being so generous in your sharing of all those great tools that you've obviously spent hours on. But like you say, the hours that you've spent developing them will save many, many, many more hours over time.
2.2 working years, if you're actually interested. I should have forgot to say. I anonymously track metrics in the tools that I've been building. We work out a working day is 7.4 hours. Currently, I think I'm up to like 735 working days. Basically, 2.2 years of time saved since I started building these tools about 3 years ago.
For you personally?
But so basically, the tools are available for everybody at the University of York. When they use the tools, it anonymously kind of pings back. Like if they create some folders, it just says how many folders they've created. It doesn't care who or anything like that. But then I can do a calculation between how quick you can do it automated versus how quick you can do it manually. And so basically, I've built a metrics dashboard in Looker Studio, where I can see how much the tools are used, and I'm actually just been starting to create a time saved metric as well to prove their efficiency.
Awesome. The pudding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is in eating. Yeah. Great.
Okay, stop the recording now.
Lovely.